Layla's first day back. The Fat Controller was waiting anxiously outside the sheds. There, backing towards him, was a red and black tank engine. Is that James? said Stafford. It looks like Proteus had a repaint to me if you would ask, said Flora, but they were wrong. Welcome back, Layla, said the Fat Controller. I am pleased to have you on my railway again, he said. Thank you, sir, said Layla happily. I miss Sodor so much. Then Nert was surprised after he saw Layla again. Goodness gracious, he said. I thought you had been scrapped after you ran away for the second time. I was, said Layla, until I was rescued by my old friends. She said, my sisters didn't make it, but I did. Only one has survived, said Layla happily. The Fat Controller smiled. You and Nert will be helping at the shunting yard, shunting some coaches on the main line, he said. I trust you two will be master and student again, he said. Then he turned to Gordon severely. And may I remind you that this no shunting nonsense will not resume. Gordon looked embarrassed and looked at his buffers. He knew what the Fat Controller meant now. Moments after, Layla and Nert, reunited again, were off to the shunting yards to shunt some coaches. They arrived and saw the line of coaches. You remember those coaches, don't you? Said Nert. Over there are the red coaches for James's stopping service, and these blue coaches are for Molly, he said, and those dark green with white yellowish colour are for Gordon's Express. I hope you'll do well to remember since you last came here, said Nert happily, and he puffed away to shunt some trucks. Layla was excited, but she didn't listen properly. Just then she went on the wrong line and forgot about what Nert told her to do. Just then she had accidentally shunted the red coaches onto the line and to the station where Gordon was waiting. Then Layla buffered up to the coaches. And then her driver saw what happened. Stop, he said. You've picked the wrong coaches. Doesn't it actually matter? Grumbled Layla. It does, said Gordon. Now fetch me my proper coaches, he grumbled, or I'll order you about. This made Layla very cross. She banged the red coaches so hard and she puffed out of the station looking very cross. But she was too embarrassed by the time she had brought Gordon's express coaches back. Nert had already been there watching. Soon Gordon had finally got his correct coaches back. The passengers were on board, the guard blew his whistle, and Gordon steamed out of the station. Layla was still annoyed, but by the time Nert backed up, she told her, I see you haven't forgotten anything I taught you, but you still have a lot to learn. And he puffed away, leaving an offended Layla behind. If he thinks I'm doing it the wrong way, she shouted, then I'll show him what I can do. I'll show him the Doncaster way, she grumbled and started to make her plan. The next few weeks later, Layla started banging around the yards feeling very cross. And then she didn't even listen to Nert's advice. and some of the big engines were starting to get cross with her and blowing steam at her. Layla took no notice and ignored them. The next day she was still frustrated when Nert arrived. He looked upset. What's the matter? He asked. Did I say something to offend you? Yes, I'm afraid you did, snapped Layla. You're one of those engines that never let go of the past, she said, and all you do is tell me what to do like a little miniature engine, she said crossly. All you do is boss me around already, she said, like as if I am treated like bull poo, she said crossly. But I didn't mean it like that, said Nert. You know that's not true. It did sound it that way to me, grumbled Layla. So the next time, why don't you just leave me alone and go and insult someone else? She said and puffed crossly away. Poor Nert felt very sad that his student was turning against him. The next day, Layla was still buying the coaches in the yards and at the big station. Gordon took no notice. Hurry up, said Gordon, and fetch my coaches. Why don't you fetch them yourself next time, shouted Layla. But then Layla still wasn't paying attention. Just then she stopped and pulled backwards. Suddenly the heavy coaches started pushing her, and she began to go too fast. The rails were slippery. She couldn't stop herself and went into a siding. Help! She cried. Then she buffered up to some buffers. Layla tried to get out, but it was no good. Oh, 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 she groaned. She tried to whistle, but it was no good. Soon she was squashed between the buffers and the coaches. Help! Help! Cried Layla. I'm going to get squashed. She was almost squashed into pieces. The coaches almost had her when suddenly the coaches were stopped, and Layla found herself and the coaches being pulled. Sounds like the Doncaster way really got you into trouble, said a voice. It was Nert. Nert, said Layla, after you teached me everything and you saved me, she said. Yes, said Nert. I suppose we did have a bad start this time, said Nert, but let's forgive each other. I'm sorry I offended you, said Nert. I didn't mean to. And I'm sorry about what I said to you earlier, said Layla. Let's be master and apprentice again, and especially friends. Yes, said Nert. Whenever problems you have, go and talk to me or the Fat Controller. And besides, we've known each other for a long time, continued Nert. Let's just continue this hunting business without any fallouts. I get the picture, said Gordon, but where are my coaches? Then Layla and Nert both began to laugh. They had the most funniest day in their life, that they have even lost concentration on shunting. But in that day on, they were happy to be master and apprentice once more again.